House of the Dragon Season 1, the finale just happened. I'm a little mixed on it, as I've been kind of with the whole season. It was slow. Yet at the same time, the show is also fast as well, because we're jumping like, what, 20 plus years? And yet experiencing both of these episodes, both 9 and 10, it really feels like the pacing has come down to a major halt almost. And that's kind of where the conflict with me really lies the most. In one instance, I really want the characters to be fleshed out, more developed. At the same time, I'm like, okay, we've ramped up 20 years. I need to see some kind of conclusion. And yet by the end of the finale, it didn't feel like a conclusive thing. And don't get me wrong, I know there's gonna be a season 2 coming. I did just finish watching the finale. So I do think some of these feelings, they're gonna have to linger in my mind. But right now, it just feels like we were just going 90 miles an hour and then we hit like a brick wall. Episode 9 really focused down on Team Green. And then this episode, episode 10, really focused on Team Black. All except for that really cool epic scene at the very end where Aemond is involved in a murder against, who was that? Viserys? I don't think that Aemond technically intended for that to happen. And now there's kind of inevitably like a war happening here shortly. Renera's face, if that did not scream shit's about to hit the fan, I don't know what kind of face you were expecting out of that. But let's back it up here a little bit. At the beginning of the episode, we come to find out that Viserys is dead. Well, we already knew that, but Renera and Daemon and everyone else found out. And immediately Daemon questions, how did he die? Was it the queen? Did she do it? They also find out that Aegon usurped the throne. Where do we go from here? Do we jump into war? Do we rally all the other houses together? Because Renera, this whole episode, is actually being very headstrong. She's the only one who's not rushing into war. She's the only one who's not being driven by her emotions. Unlike Daemon, who is just like, all right, let's kill some people right now. Otto Hightower's here. Thank you, that's mine. It has actually been a while since we've seen any of Daemon's darker tendencies, and we see a lot of that in the background of this episode, whether it's his anger trying to start a war, or the physical abuse that he causes to Renera. And throughout the whole first act of the episode, he's undermining Renera each and every step of the way, and I'm like, Daemon, you are getting so annoying right now. And then I'm like, wait, Daemon's annoying me? What? This doesn't make any sense. And so while Daemon, for me, was the weakest character in this episode, that's not to say that he's getting ready for the following season. And I'm kind of starting to think that Daemon's eventually gonna betray Renera. The way he was looking at the crown when the guard brought it up to him to hand to Renera, he held on to it for probably a second way too long. I think Daemon was a weird antagonist this episode, an antagonist that I just did not care for. I wanted to focus on what was happening with the Greens, how Team Black was handling that whole situation. But seeing Daemon like this really reminds me that is his character. That is who he is. He might be liable later on if the war ever does start, or it is starting. But yeah, Renera felt very off to me, but it honestly really does make a lot of sense because she's being thrown a lot to handle. And now all of this is affecting her physically to the point where she is losing a baby. In the span of one day, Renera lost her dad and 2 kids. Simple enough. She has enough going on, and so it kind of really makes sense now that I'm thinking about it, why she's such a reactionary character this episode, and she needs time to think before she acts. But also, Renera gets crowned queen at her child's funeral. The amount of hits that Renera took this episode and how long she was able to last, emotionally speaking, raised the bar for me in terms of her character. Meanwhile, everyone's favorite sea snake is back. Corlys, yay! He's been gone for 6 years, and he seems very confused as to what to do with all of the given situations happening over in Westeros. Do we fight for Team Green? Do we fight for Team Black? Do we fight for ourselves? What do we do in this situation? Finds out his brother dies and he's like, well, I mean, we do have a weakness of being stubborn, haha. I didn't think he was gonna respond that way, but he did. Corlys is making all of the right decisions. He is helping Renera, he's backing her, basically giving her the entire sea. That way, King's Landing, they can't really get any trade into their city, and therefore they would have to surrender and give up. So much like episode 9, not a whole lot in terms of plot progression really happens here in this episode. More things got built up, Daemon's in the crypt training dragons, smaller story beats are kind of being developed, and the larger ones are being more fleshed out. What I mean by those larger story beats being fleshed out is essentially the end cap to this episode. The scene in which Viserys unfortunately meets his demise. I've been kind of calling it here for a while that I don't really think Renera's sons are going to make it by the end of the season. I was half right. One of them made it. The other one, not so much. And oh boy, the second that Viserys landed on Storm's End, I knew that things were not right. And that is where this scene has a really great execution of suspense. suspense. It's a lot of buildup. But as much as I wanted to feel bad for Viserys, I think I felt just as bad for Aemond. And hear me out here. Viserys, you don't really know him that much as a character. Whereas Aemond, he's a more gray character, much like Daemon. So seeing him have to deal with this accidental murder, I kind of feel like that is the more interesting way of looking at it, seeing it from the perspective of Aemond. What this scene actually did for me was set up Aemond to be sort of a anti-hero later down the line. He can be built up to have a more redemptive arc, much like that of Jaime Lannister. I just don't see Daemon taking on that arc. In terms of plot progression, not a lot happened here. And I really think that is where the finale fails, whereas the finale also picks up its biggest strength in terms of giving these characters more room to breathe. And that changes the whole dynamic with season 2, 3, 4, beyond. But hey, let's make this video a little bit more interesting. Do I think that House of the Dragon is more interesting than Game of Thrones? I don't think so. I still think Game of Thrones is a way better production in terms of story. And so comparing it to Game of Thrones, I don't think it's outright fair of me to say that as well. House of the Dragon actually has its own strengths in terms of character study. I loved seeing Viserys throughout the years, how he progressed as a person. I'm honestly really afraid that I might think Viserys was kind of the glue holding it together for me, because I didn't outright love episode 9 and I didn't love the finale, which is really weird for the last 2 episodes, especially shows with ties to Game of Thrones. I think that House of the Dragon is very much doing its own thing. I'm not gonna outright disregard the show because it has so much to enjoy. It brought me back to the world of Game of Thrones, which is something that I've been seriously missing since, what has it been, since 2019, 2018? I think the biggest thing walking away from this finale is the fact that we again have to say goodbye to the universe of Game of Thrones. I absolutely love this story. I love the world, but waiting 2 years for season 2 is going to be painful without any kind of fluff. It's been a fun journey. I mean, look how giddy I am right now. It's a weird feeling, and I like that this show confuses me. I don't know exactly how to feel about it right now. With all that said, this is going to go ahead and end the video. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like and a comment down below. The engagement helps out a whole bunch with the channel, and we are also trying to reach 500 subscribers by the end of this year. However, YouTube today, out of all days, gave me the community tab. They've been rolling it out to a bunch of other creators as well. Looking forward to utilizing that in a really, really fun way. But still, if you guys want to help us get to 500 subscribers by the end of this year, highly recommend clicking subscribe, and hopefully we surpass that number at some point. What did you guys think of the season finale? Let me know down in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.